Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of LAB78. Yes, it's been a good, fruitful 2 weeks. And unfortunately for us over here in Malaysia, we are in the FMCO. And you know, a lot of people are getting a little bit stressed, having cabin fever because we're stuck in our houses all the time. But thank you for joining us here today. Yes, my name is Sky. Welcome to EXORCISMS with Sky YouTube channel. And this is the LAB78 live show we do every single 2 weeks. If you haven't done so, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, smash that notification bell. And if you want to help us out, right now, if you are watching live, go ahead and hit that like button for this video. It would really help us out, would really appreciate it too. And to make it even better, to crush that YouTube algorithm, you gotta leave a comment. Now, if you don't know what to comment about, I'm gonna give you a question that you can answer in the comments. The question is, do you believe in exorcism? Like, do you believe that's an actual real thing that happens? Go ahead and write that down in the comments right now. And of course, those of you who'd like to support us here on EXORCISMS with Sky, we got 2 ways to do it. Number 1, we have PayPal. And also number 2, we have a new sponsor site called Buy Me a Coffee. And guys, that place is awesome because you don't have to give us tons of money, whatever it is. It's sponsoring us 1 cup of coffee at a time. And you'll get the description in the link below. All right, so I hope that everyone here, as you guys have been watching all the videos, we're gonna be able to grow this channel more and more each and every day. And what's our next goal? We gotta hit 10,000, right? 10,000 is our next goal for subscribers. So hope that you guys will really be able to join us here for that. Okay, so let's kind of do some updates now. Some updates of what's going on around the world, what's going on in my life. Last, 2 weeks ago, we did the LAB78 episode number 11. We talked about ghost stories. Oh my goodness, guys. You guys have to check out the comments because there are people there writing some pretty crazy ghost stories in there. And, it's right after we did that, the ghost stories, right after I'm talking to some people, some subscribers, and oh my goodness, there are some crazy stories. People talking to their family members that died, someone seeing a green spirit, other people seeing angels. Guys, I didn't know that Malaysia was so spiritual. You guys are so spiritual here. You got all these crazy stories. So thank you so much for all your responses and your comments. It's really helping us out. Immigration update. Now, many of you are still, calling me and saying, hey, Pastor Sky, what's the immigration update like? And the answer is, guys, remember when I did the poll before? And the poll's like, yes, I'll pass the interview. No, I won't, whatever it is. But the people who were right is the ones that says, who knows? Because the Malaysia government's unreliable. Because they're unreliable. That's why, you'll never know. And the answer is, I don't know. I just don't. And the reason is because of the FMCO, everything just closed down. There's no interviews, so I'm just waiting, which is kind of cool because I've been here for like an extra 3 weeks already. It's been 3 extra weeks, so I feel blessed that God is helping me through an FMCO, which the FMCO I don't like either, but it's better than leaving, right? But I was thinking about this, guys, because I am actually considering just going back. Because we're in FMCO here, and we don't know how long it's going to be. But in Canada and America, it is pretty much just open now. Like if I go visit America, there's no masks. You don't have to wear masks. You don't have to do anything. Everything is open, full dine-in. And this is the crazier part, guys. If you go to America, it doesn't matter if you are a citizen of America or not. You get free vaccinations. Like you arrive in the airport, I think you can get a vaccination right away. They have too many, right? Here, I know that, I already applied for a vaccination here, but I have no response so far. So I'm figuring mine's not going to come because I'm a foreigner, not until the end of the year or something like that. But if I go there and then I can, get a free vaccination shot right away and then visit my family and my friends in America, travel over there too. It's a little bit different. I can make it different types of videos. But here's a big one, guys. I haven't been home to Canada since 2015. So it's been 6 years. So I haven't been home in 6 years and I miss my mom, right? My mom and dad are always texting me when you gonna come back? And I'm like, well, I'm stuck in the MCO, but I can leave anytime. So I thought to myself, maybe it's possible that I could just go back and then come back to Malaysia when the borders open again. You know, when everything is open again and I can, you know, I'm not stuck in this room. You know that this room right now is still in the place where where I do all my other videos, my work. It's like the exact same place. So, you know, not that the people I meet every day are like bad people. It's just that sometimes you just need to meet a lot of people, right? And, you know, if you see the same people every single day, you know, it's just sometimes you want something new and different. Oh, last update, guys. As you can tell, I am gaining weight rapidly. I am gaining weight. And, you know, I'm very good at doing things very quickly and doing a lot of different things. However, I am gaining weight very quickly too. So I think I've gained at least 3 kilograms. And you guys may not be able to see it. And this is why I have a pillow covering my stomach. So you guys can't see what is happening with my stomach area. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I have no motivation to work out at the moment. There's no motivation for me yet. Right? And I got to work out. But just not yet. Sometime. All right? So let's get into today's topic about exorcism. Okay, so I know a lot of you out there might not know what an exorcism is, but you might have only seen a movie. But this is a definition of an exorcism, okay? What is the definition of exorcism? It's like expelling an evil spirit by adjuration. Now, when you hear about these, when you hear about this, you're thinking like Harry Potter, like Mahala Kalaba, right? And then all of a sudden the spirit's like, ugh, and then it like jumps out of the body, or it's like a Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, wizards and witches, and like expelling demons, and you have these potions and pills or whatever it is. But exorcism has been around for centuries, even millennia, right? It was even happening 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago. There are a lot of stories about this, even in the Bible, talking about expelling of spirits, okay? Now, even though this is a very ancient thing, and a lot of people will think to themselves is, well, like, is it really real? Like, is it really real? Like, demons coming into your body, and then you're like, ah, and then you do these crazy things. Your head spins in circles. You have like crazy power lifting heavy things. A lot of people do look at it, like, especially when it comes to the movies. But the interesting thing is, like, when you look at a lot of the movies that are out there, like there's a movie that came out in my generation called The Exorcist, based on a true story. I think The Exorcism of Emily Rose is based on a true story, right? There's a lot of these movies that are based on true stories. So when you see them, it's kind of freaky and scary. And the question I'm going to give to you is it that scary? And does it really happen like the movies? And the answer is yes and no. Right? So there is stuff like it, but it's not like that, open all the time, right? Because if that was the case, you'd be hearing about all these stories everywhere. And what I want to do is I want to take you back to the beginning of where I started to understand about exorcism. So let's go back to the beginning, okay? We'll call it the genesis of where I started to understand about demon possession, okay? So I'm going to start way back when I was going to church. I went to church all my life, 13 years old. I went to church camp. Every year we have this retreat. We go to like the forest. That already sounds scary, right? We go to the forest, and like sometimes we pitch tents, or we have these log cabins. And 13 years old, having a fun time. We had this like a guest pastor visiting from Seattle, and he's speaking to us, really powerful, whatever it was. And then at nighttime, on the first night, we had the campfire and we're singing songs together. It's really dark, right? But we had the campfire going, we're singing songs, we had like marshmallows, just everything there. And then all of a sudden, like you as a kid, you can notice when things are going wrong. And you see that after the campfire, there's like these counselors that are blocking people from going to the main hall. This main hall is huge. It fits like 300 people. But all these counselors were making sure nobody goes there. So of course, me as a curious kid, me and my friend were like, oh, let's go all the way around. So we go into the forest and we go all the way around so that we avoid all the camp counselors, and we walk to the very front. And we're like, what the heck is going on in there? And the moment we open the door and walk in, you can smell sulfur. Like rotten egg smell. And we're like, what's that smell? And right when we're about to go in to open the door, a counselor comes and says, hey, what are you guys doing here? We're like, oh, no, we just came to, sorry guys, I got the sniffles. Yeah. It's not coronavirus, by the way. Yeah. So what happens is they're like going, don't go in there. We're like, oh, what's going on? And what happened was the pastor's daughter was demon possessed. And the guest pastor from Seattle was in that huge hall, just 3 people. And he was like casting out like the demon. And that's the first time I ever really had like a real encounter. Like it was right there in front of us. And it was the pastor's daughter. And here we are thinking, I thought I was safe because I'm a Christian, right? But this is the pastor's daughter. And we're like going, whoa. And it was the first time we actually even ever heard about like a real demon possession. Of course, you hear it, but this is like, it's right in front of us. So that was the first time when I was 13. Now, the second time, when did it happen? The second time was actually my cousin, right? So my real cousin. And my cousin was going on a missions trip, and she was telling us this story. And she was going on this missions trip to somewhere in South America. And they said that they basically warned all the people coming down for missions that it's a very hot place for like satanic worship. So like the spiritual warfare is crazy. And we're like, and she's telling me this, I'm like, oh, wow. And they said that a lot of people who came down actually got possessed by demons. And of course, she's someone who's just like, come on, right? And she went down there, and then she told me that she was possessed by like 5 demons inside of her. And it was so bad, literally, they chained her to the bed with chains because she was so strong. And she was telling us like she still was inside of her body, but the feeling was, here's your eyes, right? So, we're looking through our eyes, but imagine if your skull or your face just kind of pushes out and you can see the 2 holes, right? So it's almost like your face comes out and you can see your 2 holes where your eyes are supposed to be. And she said that's what she felt like. There was something else controlling her. And when she's looking through her eyes, she can only see like her face like ahead of her, and she sees the 2 holes where her eyes usually look out, and she didn't have full control. And people are just like, what the heck? That's crazy. And this, the third time I'm going to share with you is when in about 2005, I believe, 2005, 2006, no, maybe 2007. I went to South Africa to plant a church. And during that time, we had these very fiery people, and I planted the church, and then, and then we planted it, and then I went to another country, and then I came back, right? But while they're in the middle of a Bible study, so they have these Bible studies at their house, really, really big house, everything else. They get 30, 40 people coming over. And the person who was preaching was someone that I was working with. And right before the Bible study, he gets the inspiration. He says, hey, who needs prayer right now? And there is this one girl who stood up right away, put her hand up, I need prayer. And the interesting thing was, everyone knew that there was something wrong with her. This girl's parents, like she's only like maybe 19, 20 at that time. Her parents think that she has mental illness, but like the pastors and all the people around her are saying, no, she's spiritually possessed, right? And this girl gets up and says, me, pray for me. And kind of everyone knew that she had like most likely spiritual possession. So the leaders, 3 leaders, took her upstairs privately just so she doesn't scare other people, right? So other leaders were downstairs praying, and they took her up to this private room upstairs, and they started praying for her. And the craziest part was, as they're praying, and you get to the end, and in Christianity, you pray in Jesus' name. And when they prayed at the very end in Jesus' name, the moment this girl heard the name Jesus, she started screaming. She just started screaming at the top of her lungs, right? And everyone's freaking out, hey, like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden she falls on the ground. And, there she is by herself on the ground, right? And she's trying to crawl out of the room. And it's like no one's holding her back, but she's sitting there struggling, trying to climb out of the room. And everyone's sitting there like going, whoa, what the heck is going on? Now, one of the leaders there, scientist, and doesn't really believe in the spiritual things. very a scientist, microbiologist, and she's watching this happen, and in her head, in her mind, she's like this, faking it. Look at this fake. And she's thinking about it, right? And she's just sitting there thinking to herself, oh, look at this fake. She's just faking it. All of a sudden, that girl gets up, turns around, and walks to that girl. And she looks at her and says, do you think I'm faking it? And the girl's like, what? And she freaks out because she was thinking it. But this girl told her, do you think I'm faking it? And she starts freaking out. Now the other girl is right behind her praying and saying, Jesus, help her, Jesus, help her, Jesus, help her. And then the girl turns around and looks at the girl and says, not even Jesus can help me. Right? And they're like, what? They call me later. This microbiologist is freaking out. She's like, I don't know what happened. I was only thinking something, and this girl knew exactly what I was saying, and they were freaking out. So that's the third time I was hearing about these things happening. Now let's fast forward. We're fast forwarding, and what happens here is, this happens when I was in Vancouver, Canada, and I was a minister of a church, right? Just a new, freshly planted church, 10 people in the church, okay? And in the morning, I go to a major service, and then in the afternoon, I preach, okay? So, in the morning, Sunday service, just the most amazing, crazy message I've ever heard, okay? Crazy message. And the pastor is saying, you need to have faith. And if you have faith, and like fire's coming from his mouth. If you have faith, you can cast out demons. If you have faith, you can have miracles. If you have faith, and I'm sitting there like, as someone who has faith, I'm like going, yes, 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 right? You can do it. And I'm like, oh, I'm so inspired. I can do this, right? Service finishes. I am so inspired right now. Like, man, I just need more faith. I just need more faith. And then I go to the computer and I check my email. Email opens up. It's another friend, right? From another church. And they write me this email about one of our friends and something's happening to them in another country. And I'm reading the email. The email is this. This is a family friend of ours. Went to China to go get a job. So in China, this person goes to another friend of ours who's already living in China. So two friends are already living there. This guy goes to China, stays at their house, and he's getting ready for a job interview. And at night, the two guys go to bed, and the other guy's preparing for it. And he's just walking around, just preparing for this interview. When my two friends get up, they open the door, and the guy is still up, just walking around, pacing back and forth. And the two friends are like, dude, did you sleep? Like, you okay? And the guy's like, oh, no, there's something I gotta do. And they're like, what are you talking about? Right? So they're getting all ready for work. And then they're about to leave. And the guy says to them, don't leave. You can't leave. Right? And they're like, hey man, we gotta go to work. What do you mean we can't leave? The guy goes to the kitchen, grabs a knife. And he looks at them and says, don't leave. And they're like, what is going on? Then he says, give me your cell phones. And then they give the cell phones. He takes a knife and starts smashing the cell phones. Then he goes to the phone, cuts the phone line and cuts the internet line. And these guys are like, what the heck is going on? And then he basically held them hostage for like 3 hours. And during this time, he takes a knife, he walks to the wall, and he starts writing words and carving them into the wall, right? And he's carving words. And can you imagine, my friends are like, what is going on? And he's carving words. And they're all looking like, what is going on? All of a sudden, after 3 hours, the guy passes out, just boom. Two friends jump up, don't know what to do. They run out of the house and they go to their work. And they're like, what the heck is going on? Hours later, someone calls their work, and it's the apartment manager. And the apartment manager says, hey, what's going on in your apartment? And they're like, what do you mean? There's someone throwing things out the window and screaming, right? And he's like, you better come home and solve this, or we're going to kick you out. And they're like, oh my gosh. So they had to leave work. They're going back home like, we're going to have to face this again. And they're like, what? So they're like, they open the door. The house is just all in a mess. But no one's there. And they're like, what the heck is going on? Later, they found out this guy was outside, half naked, no shirt, jumping on cars. He's on the roof, jumping on cars and stuff. Police were all coming. He was like the number one person to find by the police. And what they said was they eventually found him, put him into a car, and they're taking him away. But somehow, I don't know how this happened. I don't know, but he escaped. He just opened the door and ran out, and no one can find him. So now everyone's freaking out, like, what's happening? My two friends, they're like, what do we do? So they went to their pastor, who was in China at that time, and they told him the whole story. And this pastor in China says, oh, we've seen this before. It's demon possession. And they're like, what? It's like, yeah, we've seen it before. And they're like, whoa, so we got to get him back. But no one knows where he is. So this is something that's really amazing. What happens is the pastor's wife starts to pray. And as she's praying, she sees a vision of where he is. And she's like, I just prayed and he's in those abandoned apartments. And they're like, what? They go to the abandoned apartments and he's there. So they find him, they bring him back. All of a sudden he's like, oh, I'm so sorry guys, I didn't know what I was doing. So they didn't know. So they took him to the pastor, they prayed for him, nothing happened. Still the same. So then finally they called this guy's mom. And the mom is a missionary in Japan. They're like, hey, this is what happened to your son. And she's like going, oh my gosh, send him to me. So they take him to the airport and the guy looks like he's better. He gets in line and everyone's going into the airplane. They're like, all right, see you later. Everyone, thank you so much, right? You know, just call us when you get there. Like 3 hours later, the mom calls back and says, he's not on the plane. And they're like, what? And she says, please, can you go back to the airport and check? They have to drive 2 hours back to the airport. And it's like past midnight. It's like 1, 2, 3 in the morning. The place is empty. And they come back to the airport like, what's going on? And then they see the friend. And the friend is attacking one of the janitors. So here's this janitor running and this guy's chasing the janitor, but he's not just chasing him. He's like, and he's trying to claw at the janitor. And what happens, my friends are like, what the heck? And they look, and then the guy looks and goes, and he looks at his friends and he starts running after them. And they said they were running around the airport being chased by this possessed guy, right? I don't know what happened. Maybe the guy, he got knocked out again, whatever it was. But eventually he calms down. They put him on the plane and he goes to Japan to visit his mom. Same thing happens. They pray for him, all these different things. Doesn't work. So finally, they're sending him back to Vancouver. Okay? So I'm reading this entire email. I'm reading it, right? I'm reading like, whoa. And the question they asked me is, hey, Sky, Pastor Sky, we're wondering, can you help him? Right? But guess what, guys? Remember, I just heard the message. And the message was like, if you have faith, you can do amazing. I'm like replying like, yes, I can do it. Send him to my church. And I was really, really happy, I can do this. So in the afternoon, there's the Sunday sermon, the sermon that I deliver. And I'm starting to tell everyone the whole story. This guy had a knife and he was carving in the wall, right? And everyone's kind of freaking out whoa, right? And then I say to them, and he's coming here this week. And everyone's just like, and when I looked at their reaction, I was like, what? Why isn't everyone happy, right? And then as they're looking at me, I'm like, wait, did I make the wrong choice? And I started thinking I was discouraged, oh no, right? And after service, they're all like, hey, Pastor Sky, when's this guy coming? I was like, oh, he's coming on Monday. And they're like, okay, just want to know when I shouldn't be here. So they're all avoiding it, right? And then to make things even worse, one of the members says to me, hey, if he brings a bag, make sure to check if he has a knife in there. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, oh my gosh. And I thought to myself, gosh, I made a big mistake. I can't believe I'm inviting this guy over. And I'm telling you guys, Monday morning, he comes to church and I'm waiting there. I've never been so scared. I'm just like, oh my gosh. He comes in. He basically looks like a refugee. Hair is all messed up. Clothes, you know, like this is a button shirt. It's even the wrong buttons. Like he buttoned it wrong. And I'm looking at him like, no. And he came in with a bag. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, right? And I was like freaking out. And interesting thing was, I have a senior pastor, and the senior pastor gives me a lot of advice. And I talked to this senior pastor because my senior pastor has dealt with tons of like demon possession and casting out demons and such. And he basically told me that there's two types of ways, right? There's the first type, right? The first type is what you read and in stories like, in Jesus' name, ah! And then all of a sudden the demon's like, yeah, and then he runs out of the body and he goes away. You're like, yeah, God rules, right? Like that's like the first one that everyone sees. But he says, yeah, there's that type of demon possession. And however, there's a second type, right? And the second type is a very, very strong hold on the person. And it just takes a lot of time and constant prayer over days and days, sometimes weeks. And you got to keep praying for them, right? So when I heard that advice, I was like, oh, okay. Sat him down. We discussed and talked. You know, of course, I taught him the words of God, whatever it was, and we just taught. And he sat there just like, oh, okay. And I prayed for him. He's like, okay. And I was like, hey, you want to come back next week? He's like, all right, I'll come back. Comes back next week. Same thing. Do it again. Pray for him. I said, you want to come back in a couple days? Comes back 3 days later. And then after that, he just starts coming every single day. Every day he comes to church. Every day I pray for him. And 21 days later, from the time he came, in 21 days, he was healed. Completely gone. And the craziest part, you know the reason why we knew that everything was okay? Because on that last day, he came, clothes fully ironed, looks really nice, hair is cut, everything is done. And even people who were at church, they all asked, hey, who's this guy? They couldn't even recognize him from the very beginning. And from that point on, he became this person who was like really diligent in the church. And he was faithful. He was helping with the tech and he was helping with all the other different things. And this is my first experience with this demon possession. And, from all the things that I've seen, I'm going to tell you guys, you don't need faith to believe or not to believe in these types of things. Why? Because it happens to everyone. Right? We see, like 2 weeks ago, we talked about ghost stories. If you want to hear about the ghost stories, go back to the LAB78 number 11. Number 11 is where I talk about ghost stories and stuff. But these are people who have faith and don't have faith. They all see it, right? And these demon possession ones is quite incredible. There are a couple more stories, but I don't want to go into all of these stories like that anyways. But that is my first exorcism. It wasn't one of the flashy like, and then also like, yeah, right? And then it comes out. It was nothing like that. It was actually slow and steady, right? And it took time for it to work. And we prayed for this person every day for like 3 weeks. So yeah, that was my first exorcism. Guys, tell me what you think about it. Write in the comments what you think about the story. Even if you don't believe in exorcism or even if you never had faith or whatever, just write down what you thought of this story. And I'm going to tell you, there's tons more stories about this too that I've experienced and seen in my life. But I just wanted to share you this one and of course those 3 other stories beforehand. All right. So that is the end of today's LAB78. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. Remember, guys, like and comment. Like right now. Whoever's watching right now, just make sure you like it before you leave. Before you exit the room, make sure you like it. And not a comment in this chat room that you're in right now, but a comment for the actual video, right? Leave a comment there. What's the comment? Do you believe in exorcism or not? Okay. And of course, for those of you guys who really, really want to support us here in Espresso with Sky, we have 2 ways to do it. The first one is PayPal, and the second one is Buy Me a Coffee, where you can buy us just a cup of coffee, and that will support us too, so that when we drink the coffee, we'll be able to keep going and editing and doing all the different things we need. All right, guys. All right. If you haven't done so, go ahead, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Everyone have a wonderful 2 weeks, and we'll see you guys again. Hopefully, I'll still be in Malaysia. Everyone, see you later. Bye-bye.